Let's see, it is October 15th. Happy Thursday. Good morning, everyone. Hey, Mustafa. How's it going? Yeah, I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Oh, let's get going. So, we're going to be working on animations. Got too many windows open. Clear some of these out. Okay. So in Blender, we had created an armature and then some sort of model, which, here, let's rename it to, I don't know, crazy thing. I don't know, just base is fine for now. Although, we'll call it blocky. A little pet block creature. I'm making this up as I go along. And I'm wondering how we can create in Blender separate animations, because we do have our armature. And we have blocky, and our blocky is associated with the armature via the armature modifier, such that all of the vertex groups that are named correctly inside of blocky get associated with the arms, or the bones, in the armature, which is pretty neat. I'm new to all of this, so just figuring it out as we go along. Now, if I wanted separate animations, where would that be in here? And here we've got view layer, scene. Okay, it goes from like rendering down to very specific things at this end. So at this end, it's kind of like the world, the scene, how you perceive everything. Then you work down further, and then you get into how this thing is viewed in the world. Keep going to its modifiers. Its, I don't even know what this is. Oh, particles. Okay. Physics. Object constraints. Vertex groups, shapes. I'm looking for more animation stuff. Materials. Oh, what is this? Brush mask. I am in object mode. I wonder if this... Let's see, I don't even... Well, here we have summary. We can click on the different channels. We can start to animate elements. So let's go to the armature. Maybe the armature has elements like that. So if we go into, let's say, pose mode, are there different elements we can do with pose? Animation. Ah, interesting. Pose library. So we can add poses. But if we wanted to have separate animations, I mean, that seems like it's somehow related to the armature, somehow related to Blocky, our model, and then also like it should be its own thing down here. Let's do a search on this. Blender, multiple animations. Export multiple animations, GLTF2. Ooh, this is a good question. Let's look at this. Does the Blender GLTF export function treat animation actions correctly? Okay. Ooh, no answers though. Simple skinned model with a cube with 3 bones. Added 2 simple animations to deal with the different bones, stash them, and export them as GLTF. The animation channels are okay. Pose. All right. Motion paths. Interesting. Now it looks like this is going to be part of like the pose library. But a pose library seems like, oh, this isn't quite what what I want. Like, all right, let's create a new pose. Or you know what? Let's look at the. You can't see it, Drat. I'm looking for something in the tutorials about animating elements. Also sculpting, eyes, lights and camera, grooming, massive pack. Ooh, version control. We should look at that real quick. Hmm. What is it? With the action editor pane. Alright, so let's try that. If you go to your dope sheet view, you can create and name separate animations with the action editor pane. Where is the action editor pane? Action, dope sheet, which is where we are. Oh, the action editor. There it is. So we can create a new one. Let's see, let's call this up down. Okay. Let's say I want a new one. New action. Let's call this one left right. Or side to side. Okay, so now we have two actions from our action editor. Let's take that out of full screen. Let's go back to dope sheet. Now, how do I know which one of these is actually selected? Select. Okay, what is the action editor? You can create and name separate animations with the action editor pane. You can also use the main dope sheet pane to scale your animations. Each of these animations, as it relates to the object, do have their own separate timelines within Blender and can be linked or copied to other blend files. Okay. You can press M in the timeline to add a marker. I would really recommend desisting from the approach that you've been on? All right. I would like to desist from my current method. That's the reason for the question. Um, Exporting the .x format only exports the current activity. Oh, and a multi-scene workflow. Interesting. That's also interesting. I suggest looking into nonlinear animation editor. By making your animations into an LA strips, look the orange snowflake. I don't see an orange snowflake. You can scale the animation clips. Go scaling. Okay. Was NLA in here? Not there. Side to side. Press for a while. That just. Action Editor seems to have everything that the other one had, plus a little more. Wrong one. This one. Okay, we can kind of scroll side to side there. That's it in that list. Store this action in the nonlinear animation stack as a non-contributing strip for later use. Okay. Marker, add marker. What's a marker do? We just have like some random marker. Okay. Marker, delete. Can we delete markers? Maybe if we have them selected. Delete marker. Okay. Alright, let's try this. We're going to see if I can animate this. Insert keyframe menu, location, rotation, and scale. Now I know I didn't set up IK on this. Pause mode. I'm going to bring these down. I'm just going to rotate this like so, rotate that in. We're going to make it look like it's going up and down. What do we have in here? Hopefully this is taking care of that. Let's go to like, go to 30. Say it goes up and down every so often. Oh, we should figure out what our frame rate is. We didn't do that. Frame rate 30. There we go. Okay. I want to go to frame 30. But how do you do that easily? Okay, so we have that. Now let's rotate these again. Gonna go straight up. Record their location, rotation, and scale. Oh, why did that not? Ah, it's only showing me the animations maybe for that. All right, now let's go back to 60. We'll go to 60 and you know what? We should have this as a pose somehow. Can we save that as a pose? Pose library. Add new pose. Squat. Okay. And what do these do? Sanitize pose action library. Not sure what that does. Alright, then if we come back here, come over to that point, select that. Add new current frame. Rename this to up. I don't know what this actually does. I mean, I can search these, I can do different things with them, but now if I go to, let's say, here, these should have keyframes. That's good. And then if we go to 60, I was hoping to be able to use squat again, but I don't know how to apply that to this. Make actions suitable for use as a pose library. Interesting. Oh, apply pose library pose. Oh, there we go. It's the little spy. What is that? A spyglass? Yeah, that looks more like a search to me. That's fine. Location, rotation, and scale. Done. Now if we play this and how do we set our animation to? Oh, look at that. Up, down. That's great. Now, all right. There's one, although we put that in side to side. Let's call this squat up. Squat ups. New terrible exercise. Alright. Pose lib. I'm going to delete. Where'd it go? Uh-oh. So the pose lib goes up, down, like so. It starts down, goes up, it doesn't actually come back down. I don't know. Okay, that says it has two things that are actually using it. I don't know what. Oh, yeah, I didn't want to clone that. Let's get rid of that. Pose lib has two up downs. Have two. I wonder why. So I was trying to get rid of this one. Ah, maybe we can erase them from here. Wait, are these the same as these over here? The action library? Is the pose library the same as the action library? The action editor? So if I rename this to foobar. Oh, it is. Okay. Okay, so this one, get rid of. Pose lib. Squad ups. And potentially corrupt. Sanitize operator to fix. Alright. Boom. Alright, we're gonna get rid of foobar. Doesn't actually get rid of it, does it? Unlink pose library. Foobar. Unlink. Is foobar still used? Don't know. Alright, but if we come in here. Ah. Squad ups. There we go. Dope sheet. Let's say I want to change how many frames there are. Where is that? Is that going to be... I mean, it seems like it'd be silly to have it over here, because different animations could have different lengths. This goes up, down like so, which is fine. Just wondering, now at this point, let's say this animation is 60 frames, but the next one's only going to be 30. Is this the right way to build it? Because it does seem like we would want scenes instead. Because I don't have any scenes that are exported. Okay, let's just go ahead and export this. I want to see what it looks like in Blender. Armature, we've got our action editor, we've got some stuff. File, export, GLTF2. Squad ups. Oh, there were some extra options. Include selected objects, custom properties. Ah, animation, look at that. Export deformation bones only. And bones needed for hierarchy. Alright, that seems fine for now. Now to Godot. Let's fit that on the screen a little better. trying to open this. You know what? I have to copy it, don't I? There we go. Alright, so here's squad ups. Open anyways. Oh, look. Oh, and it's got an animation player on it. With squad ups. How about that? Whoa. Okay. We don't have to worry about the length. As soon as there are no more keyframes, it's done. That's nice. Okay. Well, that might work better than I expected. I was about to go to scenes. So if instead of that, instead of squad ups, we ended up creating a new one. No action. Now we're going to go side to side. Take this. Go into pose mode. Let's go ahead and start with up. Where's our poses? Pose, pose, pose. Yeah, I'm not sure the relation between these. Go straight up. This is squat. This is squat, which just happens to be the same thing. I'm going to delete that one. This one is up. Okay. I'm going to go to a different angle, different perspective here. Okay, so there, that's straight up. Now we're going to go side to side on this. Is we're going to rotate this over here, and we will call this thing here. Add new current frame. Whoa, whoa, whoa! No, 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 no! Don't do that. Well, this is left. We rotate this that way. Create a new one. Add new. Right. Alright, and then we could go, let's say, 15. Because we're in the side to side. Frame 1 or frame 0. We'll apply this pose. Capture that, hit I, location, rotation, and scale. And squat ups are here. I wonder what the relationship is between the pose library and the actions here. Squat ups there is not I would expect. Okay, foobar, nothing, fine. But those aren't referenced side to side. Yeah, okay, so this one here, this pose here. Add new, down. So we want that pose back at the beginning. Let's go back to the beginning. And we will apply said pose. So now this. Apply it to capture location, rotation, and scale. Good. Up and down. This one's called side to side. That is not correct. That should be called squat ups. Up, down. Push action down. Hey, good morning, Hyper9. How are ya? Oh, I see, because this one here. So I was changing that one. So if I go back to squat ups. Ah, good, just learning new tips. So am I, so if you have good tips, I would be glad to know them as well. Alright, I want to delete these keyframes. Delete keyframe. Oh, not all the keyframes. Just this set of keyframes. There we go. You too, delete keyframes. Alright. I butchered this animation somehow. So if we have this here, let's go to frame 1. We're going to use the down pose on this. Interesting. Morning, Hexington. What's it called when you steal someone's coffee? I don't know what is it called when you steal someone's coffee? Mugging. Oh. All right, that's good. That's good and bad at the same time. That's good. So what we're trying to do now is actually get these exported into Godot with different animations. You need to know how to do this for the game. So in this case, we were able to export it with one animation, which I later butchered. We have squat ups here. And when we exported this, it also included an animation player, which is perfect. I'm glad it did that. I feel like I need to restart this because something over here is not quite right. I wish I knew if these were associated with a specific frame. Because I think when I had clicked this add new current frame, which I think it's associating this with a frame. So if I go and change that frame again, then it changes the pose. I'm guessing on this. Don't take this as correct. Okay, so if we have these, and let's say we have left, we apply that, that's fine. Up, that's good. Right, oh, right's not there. Okay, let's rotate this. All right, now this here should be right. Interesting. Because how do we end up setting them? We can unset. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so if I create one of these, I want this to be applied. Interesting. New pose library, that's fine. But this here, I don't have a way to apply these to the current pose, do I? Oh, interesting. You can copy and paste poses. Paste flipped pose, X flipped pose. Oh, nice. Nice. Right, but the right one here, I think I have to get rid of that and add a new one based on the frame. But it's gone. It's not in there. Let's undo that. Add new. Right. And then if I click on this and say, ah, but then that one changed. What was that before? That was left. Okay, so that left one appears to be based on one of these frames here. And then if we change the pose in the frame, there's some sort of association going on here. Well, let's look at the docs real quick. Oh, you know what? We could just ignore this whole pose animation thing for now. Let's just ignore it. Ignore. Go away. Unlink. Interesting. Okay. Well, I don't know how to delete those. That's fine. Oh, we have these squat ups. Okay, so we're ignoring the pose library. We are inside of the action editor. And let's say I want to do left right. So we'll say left or side to side. That's what I'm going to call this one. Now we have a side to side and an up down. So we go side to side. And we're in the pose. Yeah, yes. This is going to be 30 seconds. I'm going to delete some of these. Delete keyframes there. Sure. Actually, just delete all the keyframes. There. Set that. Location, rotation, and scale. Fine. Okay, now we're going to go to, let's say, 15. And at this point, we'll just go straight up. Whatever we think straight up is. Something like that. Where the top up here is kind of straight up and down. Set that. Rotation, rotation. Location, rotation, and scale. Arguably, it's just the rotation stuff. All right, now for the next one, let's see if we can copy this pose. Copy pose. We're going to go to 30, but we're going to paste it X flipped. Ah, but it's a rotation. Okay. We'll just rotate the bottom element again. Almost. I don't want to get it at that 45 there. There. Really, it's just the rotation. We don't need all the other stuff. So if we come back here, we're only animating the property of one element. The rest of those are just extras. How do I delete that set of keyframes? I have to click up the top? Yes. Delete keyframes. Oh, but it didn't keep the position. Interesting. Huh. Copy pose. Delete keyframes. Oh, and then I copy the pose again. Yeah, whatever. Rotate it. We're going to go left. About there. Rotation. I'm going to do the top center one. It's not going to take but just a moment. Delete keyframes. Oh, interesting. This could just... but we have to go back, don't we? All right, so that's 30. And we're going to go to 60, and we should be able to copy this pose over here. Copy pose on this element. Copy. Come over to 60. Paste pose. Now it's back over there. The rotation, good. Let's give it a play. Where's the beginning? Let's go back to the dope sheet. No? Where did the play controls go? Regardless. All right, so that's going side to side. That's great. Go back to our action editor. So that's, oh, interesting. That's armature action. Why is it called armature action? If that's armature action, what is side to side? Side to side has nothing. That's unfortunate. Oh, but there's an animation element in here. And there are NLA tracks. Oh, I see. I see. So let's say we did this. Yeah, this does have elements in it. Okay. Armature action. Let's say this is, I'll call it left, right. Left, right, enter. So we have left, right there. If we push down, what is this then? Oh, we have an NLA track, left, right. Can we get to it in the action editor? Okay, I'm not sure what these extras are here. Oh, I see. That's going through the list. Foobar, left, right, side, side, up, down. Now, side to side, I don't think we had anything in it. I don't know how to delete that. Let's try here. That was not good. It just deleted the whole thing. What is this? This is, come on, give me some tooltip help. It looks like a dope sheet. That's called side to side. Browse action to be linked. And this is the editor type. Okay, so we have our dope sheet. We've got that. Side to side, up, down. And if we unlink that, That pulls it out of there, but we still have our NLA track here, which is left-right. So if we come back here into the dope sheet, nearest frame, key, no. Action editor. We still have left-right here. Okay, we have two stashes here. Alright, go ahead and delete. Ah, that's too much. So we take those and unlink them. Nope, that's still the whole thing. Okay, I'm not sure. There's a lot of being not sure today. We have left to right. We've got this NLA track here. So let's... Alright, and here's side to side. I don't really want to be in foobar. Left, right, I'm going to copy... Oh, we didn't have poses for straight up and down. That's fine. Alright, so for side to side, hopefully we're modifying side to side here. Rotate that out. Rotate this up in pose mode. Oh wait, I don't want to change that. I'm going to do up downs. Up down, up down, up down. Okay, so we can push this down. Push action down onto the NLA stack as a new strip. Oh, now we have two of them. Now we've got left, right, and up, down. And then these, whatever these are, foobar and side to side. I see. So let's, can we delete? No, I keep trying to do that. It keeps not working. Armature action. Animation. Well, it's interesting that you can choose these NLA tracks. So like the side to side one, wherever that is in here. Here's side to side. If I rename this to that, yeah, that changes. Okay. It changed over here as well. I'm starting to get it. Okay. Unlink it. That doesn't do anything, does it? And we still have foobar. How do we get rid of these over here? I mean, normally I would stash and, like, you know, pop something off the stash. Now we have another. Can I rename this? Can I move these? Anyhow, so now we've got this object, and we're going to export it again, gltf2. Let's see, we're going to go into Rust, Legacy, Character Prototype. We'll go ahead and save it in here. Amateur Actions. Export. Back to Godot. Alright. Now let's look at Amateur Actions. Open anyways. Left, right, and up, down. Are these the actual ones we want? I forgot. We want left, right, and up, down. Okay, so the stashed ones we're not getting. That's good to know. So if we do this, left, right, whoosh. Okay, that's working. You can see some of the bones in there. What's going on? Why can't I? Oh, I'm zoomed in. Well, that's left view, front view. Right view. There we go. All right. So this does appear to give us the animations that we want inside of Godot. They are trimmed at the duration. So if we wanted to loop these, we could. I like doing those sorts of animations instead of Blender. It's really nice. All right. So having those in the NLA editor seems to be really nice. Okay, so that answers that question, where we can use the NLA tracks as this action editor to do this. Now, one of the other suggestions was to use different scenes, but I don't know what would happen if we created a new scene. Let's just say it's a full copy, and we'll sure call it delete me. All right, now if we have two scenes, and one is a copy of the other, and we export it, gltf2, delete me scene. Okay, here you are. Open it anyways. Oh, we get both of them in there. Okay. Yeah, that's not going to work. Okay. And what if we had an animation that wasn't just animating vertices, but also needed to animate, let's say, vertices in two different elements? I guess that should still work. We should be able to apply vertex modifiers to two different things. I'm going to go ahead and delete this. Delete. Yeah, that's fine. Goodbye. Let's delete that scene. Okay, that's gone. So now let's change this just a touch. I'm going to create, okay, we'll save that, fine, create a new one. General. Okay, let's go to front. we're going to create, how about a cylinder? Add cylinder with fewer vertices, say 8. Or 6, say 6. Radius, what shall the radius be? A meter, I don't really care. Meter's fine. Depth, 4. Alright, take those. GZ2. Oh, hit it just on one side. Yeah. Okay, got the whole thing, good. Couple loop cuts. I don't know. That's fine. That's good. Zoom in just a touch. Move that up. Alright, so if we had something like this, we will call this a leg, or arm, or appendage. Flange. We'll call it leg. How about lower leg? Yeah, it's got a bunch of different elements here. Going to duplicate this. Actually, I want vertex up. Oh yeah, please. Please ask a vague Rust question. I'm just practicing and trying to get better at this. And I really don't mind the interruptions. So I'm going to create a vertex group with this. Are these vertex groups? No, that's particles. Ah, down here. Vertex group. Yes. Lower leg. Oh, you know what? Let's just do part of these as the lower leg. Assign those. Call this leg. We'll have another vertex group for the knee. I don't know, I'm making stuff up. And we're going to give it those. And then the upper leg, we'll give this one. Assign those. All right, so if we lock those and then look at them, select, oh, I didn't want an additive select. Select those, good. Select, deselect, good. Okay, that looks okay. So now if we name an armature the same way as this, object mode, armature, single bone, and this is going to go to, say about there. Extrude that through the knee, something like so. Extrude again. All right, so this here, lower leg, knee. As a beginner in Rust, it seems like a lot of code you see has pretty long files, which is at odds with Uncle Bob's best practices, which would indicate having shorter files. In your own project, you've found you're less inclined than usual to split the files up as it takes longer. Um, ooh, that's it. That's an interesting question. So you're less inclined to split up the files as it takes longer. Um, I I actually do the same thing in Rust, where I tend to dump a lot of stuff into a single file, and then I start to split it out into other modules. Um, as I don't always know what shape it's going to be at the very beginning, or kind of the relationship, or what's going to come out of it, because I don't have a great sense of kind of what Rust would want. And I say it that way because Rust and the borrow checker, I guess the borrow checker specifically, and perhaps a little bit in lifetimes, will influence the design quite a bit. And I don't have that foresight yet, right? Like if I'm a chess player and we're evaluating like my skill in Rust as if I was a chess player, I still think I'm fairly low in the rankings because I can't see far enough ahead in the um, in the game to know what's going to go where. So I do end up putting things into a single file. However, I tend not to navigate Rust just by scrolling up and down in files. Usually, my Rust navigation, here, let's go into, oh, we can open this file, this directory. Yeah, this is legacy Rust. One of my projects, oh, Vim's all freaking out. Cd dot dot. Let's go into a smaller project. This one. This is a project which gets loaded into Godot. So it's a Godot quote-unquote script written in Rust using GDScript. So usually I end up navigating Rust via the tooling. Oh, no results here. So I've got these different modules in here. I tend not to just scroll up and down in files. I mean, sometimes if I do, it's rare. Don't just go through there. So if I'm looking at something like legacy error, I would probably look file here, do a kind of a search there, or let's say I found a type, we'll call it loading. Oh, that's the wrong thing. That's interesting. That searcher is broken. Shift O should have, or space it. Oh, there. Maybe it just took a while to load. I would just jump through it using the tools. Now, I'm not familiar with Uncle Bob's best practices. Do you have a link to that? Ah, the clean code book. Okay. Bob has written the same book like 6 times. Optimized for profit. Yes. Yeah, that I would also be careful. It's good to write clean code, but it's also easy to not ship code because you spend all the time cleaning. So I don't know if the Clean Code Handbook actually talks about managing kind of those different forces. I imagine it gets, oh wow, the clean code, clean architecture, software, software cross. I would say ship whenever the test pass. I see. Oh, you were taught to use UML. Wow, wow. I'm gonna try to. I should turn that back on. I should set that in my default. Pretty cursor. We're gonna set this to 1, 2, 3. Say 5. I'm going to add a cube. Icosphere? UV sphere, icosphere, whatever. 1. Oh, that looks gross. It's okay though. You'll also see a lot of people making games end up just writing game engines and never shipping games, and the game engine dies because nobody ever uses it to make a game. Um, Sorry, a little rant there, but I just I think organization of code for Rust in a file, like having things associated with the right thing, makes a lot of sense. And also understanding modules in Rust. You can organize things privately that are different from how a library might expose types or paths and modules. So you'll see that some crates actually have a different public hierarchy than they do internally. I would like to have shorter code files. I don't always come back and kind of organize them and clean them up. And then, as Peyton Rule said, start adding tests on there. Because Rust tests tend to be co-located with the code that they're testing, which adds quite a bit. Then, when you look at some of these really great libraries out there, look, I was looking through his latest updates here. Oh wow, Crossbeam just got updated. Here, let's look at async process here. I haven't done this in a while. Oh, you know Bob in real life. Oh, Peyton Rules, are you Bob? Or do you go by Robert? This is the other thing. A lot of auxiliary stuff in Rust, like documentation, is also in the same file. So if you end up writing good documentation for your library, for your code, you are also going to have hundreds of lines of comments in here, which is not a bad thing. It's actually really nice, but some of it's just for the documentation. So when you combine the code, the documentation, the tests into a file, I think Rust does lend itself to having quite a bit more length to a file than you would in other languages. I mean, look, example code in documentation taking up, 10 lines, 5 lines. I'm gonna call this head. Now if we go back to the armature and add one more, all right. Oh, that came off the wrong thing. There. That's interesting. Why is setting that not actually do anything? Oh. Let me check on some. Sorry, I'm back. Morning, Alex. Do I have experience in programmable retargeting armature to another mesh? Ooh, that's an interesting one. I don't. I'm fairly new at Blender. Well, I've used Blender in the past, but you know how it goes. The path that seems most reusable to me is to have your armature components named correctly so that you can just apply a mesh, apply it to, let me show you. So in this case, if we had this little piece with all of its vertices, where are the little vertices button? Here, vertex group, I'm gonna call this head. Come over here, select all the vertices in this, assign them to that, deselect everything, select that, make sure it's done, good, lock that up. Now we have the vertices in the head of this named. So we have vertex group named head. Now on my armature, I also have something named head. So when I come in here into object mode for the head, Click on this, add a modifier, armature. Now I'm going to select the armature that has those named elements, and it is going to associate the named vertex groups with the named bones. So that seems to be a really nice way to be able to reuse armatures, by naming these and then also having your vertex groups and your meshes named the same way. Then you can just apply them as a modifier, which is what I'm hoping to do. So that's actually the test I'm trying right now. Okay, so if we come back out and we select our armature, let's say we wanted to rotate. Let's come into pose mode for a moment, rotate this. Oh, that's edit mode. I want pose mode. There, rotate. Yeah, see? Now we can associate these with different elements. And if you wanted to reuse this on a different rig, you could, just by naming these. This is kind of neat here. All right, well, this seems to be working. Going to not pose those yet. Come in there. What shall we call this? This is a candle. I'm going to call it candle. It looks like a candle-esque thing to me. All right. So then, if we came up here, and we started the action editor, where is that? Playback, no, not there. Object mode. There's the leg, there's the head. Hey, Krasing, how are you? How are the ducklings? The 4 remaining ones are locked up in their cage at the moment. They haven't been let out for the day. Ducky Duck and Brownie and I think the other one was named Ducky or something. They got eaten by a bear. So that's like a actual bear. It was a brown colored black bear. Yeah. And this is where somebody plays the Circle of Life. And where's the animation stuff? We had come in here before. And this should be the dope sheet, yes. And then, whoa, what were we on before? What was this? What was on the timeline? Ah. Versus the dope sheet. Because the dope sheet has the animation editor. Interesting. Yeah, it also got one of our beehives and took a bunch of hairs off a tree. So So now if we have a new one of these, let's call this bounce. Let's go into pose mode. I have to choose the right thing. So if we have something like this and we wanted to bounce it, what would we do? We would scale not everything. I just want this in pose mode with all linked elements. Scale. Can we scale it? Oh, it takes the rig with it. Ooh, we don't want that. Scale Z. Okay, that's more likely. Okay. Location, rotation, and scale. And we'll lock that in, starting at the beginning. Let's go a couple frames. Let's say 12 frames, sure. Scale Z. Come down here for the anticipation. Location, rotation, and scale. Now we go really high up. There's going to be some point in here. Let's see, so 12 seconds to go down. 12 frames. Now let's remove the scale. But that should be done in, let's say, 6 frames. So we're going up faster. Okay. Tag that, location, rotation, and scale, and then we take off, adding a little bit of vertical movement and stretch. So at this point, in GZ, we're going up. And this, we could actually stretch Z just a touch. Of course, we would make it thinner or wider, depending, because some of these. Oh, I didn't get the. Didn't actually save that. GZ, we're gonna go up. With a little bit of elongation, so we will scale Z up, scale not Z in. That's not quite in. Let's try again. Just a touch. Okay, the little launch could have been better. Let's move that over. All right, yeah. That, and you should probably be up quite a bit higher. Yeah, let's pull this one in just a touch. Back over. Can you hunt them in our state? Yes, we can. And the only reason that it was not hunted yet was because it wasn't within hunting hours. So. One of the really neat things about kind of this area is that a lot of the, there we go, a lot of the fees that people pay for hunting actually goes to management, right? Land management, open spaces management. So even if you're not a hunter, you benefit from it. So that looks pretty good. Um, it's not the best animation. It could be better. Um, that and I didn't. I thought this was at 30. What's it look like now? Oh, okay, that's a little better. Suddenly you're happy you live in Illinois. Only Bears. I used to play or football. Oh, that's funny. Alright, so this is one animation. Now this is, it called it armature action. I don't know why. Because we also have bounce, which is what I was going to call this. So if we select everything here, I don't know why it's armature action. I mean, maybe this should have just been, like, what is bounce? Bounce doesn't have any of those elements in it. So as soon as we started keying this, it became something else. Okay, armature action. It's like that created a stash or something. So if we push this down, push down, we go back in there, call it armature action, we call that jump or launch, something like that. Then it should still be there. Bounce, I don't know what to do with bounce. Alright, but then we do get this in an NLA track, good. So if I can get a decent armature with a kind of standard number of these, I think it would make creating these characters much easier. Okay. Alright, so we got that. What else? I think we know how to get that into Godot now. Let's go ahead and save that. File export, just to make sure that it's still working. Candle. This is going to go into Rust. Come back over here. Yeah, open anyways, don't care. Alright, I want to see how the deformations are working here. We have animation player, we've got launch, good. Oh, good. So it does scale. Squashes, scales. And I like GLTF format. That is so nice. Okay. So given that, should be able to look and see that there's an animation player. So looks like it's going to be called animation player. And armature. And it does look like we can have multiple elements. Let's add an attachment point. Put a child to the head element here. Or let's say mounting a hat. Empty, plain axis. They probably put this down at the very bottom, didn't they? Let's go undo that. Let's set the world cursor right there somewhere. View, cursor, set those to 0, done. Okay, and then I undo it. Try again. 0. Add empty plain axis. There we go. I'm going to take that and this. So the second thing is going to be the head. The command P object. Okay. Now the head has this empty, which we will call hat attachment point, or hat attachment, or attachment hat. I don't know. So we save that. It looks like our attachment point didn't move. Head attachment point. It should be parented by that, so why is it not inheriting those elements? Say launch. So if I move this one, the other one should move, because they are parented. What is this? Okay, I want to be out of the action editor. Let's go. Okay, so it is parented with the head. That's good. You can see the little crosshairs there. There. Alright, let's save that. Let's export it. Well, hold on. I want to see that it moves with the action. Launch. See, it does not appear to be moving. Does that have to be attached to a bone then? Oh, because it's not part of a vertex group. Of course. But that means on our rig we need to have attachment points. Ooh, I don't know if I like that. So here's our armature, yada yada, head. Because we'd have to extend something off of head for the hat. So we took this and hit it there. Extruded that just a touch for the hat attachment point. I mean, that can be really small. Oh, that's a view. Wrong one. Oh, the tail. All right, and we could call this bone here the attachment. Attach hat. That's going to make for some pretty verbose armatures, isn't it? So if we came out of there, oh, you know what we could do then? I was thinking we could make that single point on top of the icosphere actually be for the hat, but we probably don't want to do that. All right, can the hat attachment have a vertex group or not? No. So we have to associate it with a bone? I see. Right now it's associated with the head bone, which I don't know why. Maybe because the head is associated with the head bone and its parent is that? I'll have to think about that. Go box. So how are we going to do attachments with this? I get that the animation moves vertices. So if I come into, let's say, launch, look at this. Oh, pose mode? See a little red dot in the middle? Is that the center or not the head? That looks like the center point for the head. A little orange dot there. Object mode. Yeah, that's origin. That little orange dot there. Come back. Pose mode. It's moving the vertices. So we need either to have vertices that we can attach other elements to, or have something on the armature that we can attach stuff to. So let's go back into Godot and take a look. Armature here has a skeleton. Alright, but that's not super helpful. Because those are just a whole bunch of vertices. Alright, so that means that this itty bitty little piece at the top of that actually needs to be the attachment point for this. So let's undo the parenting. Oh, no, not propagate. We want object mode. Selecting the empty target. Clear parent to keep the transform, sure. I'll call this hat, and we'll put it in a collection. The command M? No. That's minimize. Shift M. Link to click. No. We don't want to link it. Control M? No. New collection. We'll move it to a new collection called attachments. Attachment points. Alright. So we have the head there, which these elements here might end up being in the same thing or slightly different depending. I don't know yet. But then we'll have attachment points and we will associate this with a bone. So that object there shall be parented by this attach hat point or hat attachment. Maybe we'll just call it hat. That I think is clear. Hat. So if we select that one first, select that one, no, not with shift, with command. Control P. Set parent to object. Keep transform. Okay. So now the hat is supposed to have a bone, but it doesn't. No. Well, that's too bad. I mean, it's associated with an animation. I don't really care about that at the moment. Okay, let's make sure we got this. We have that. And that. Ah, we have to parent it to the bone. Keep transform. There we go. Now if we select the hat here, there's nothing. Go to edit mode for the hat. Bone. Relations. Parent is head, yes. If we go over to hat, there is a bone. Wait. Light. That's still in the armature. Object mode, let's go. One moment. All right, we're back. Attachment points. All right, so we have the head there. Go to edit mode. It's still, oh, did I select the wrong thing? Object mode, I want this hat. Now we're going to edit mode. Yeah, and it's still just one of these little empty deals. So what I'm looking for is something to be able to add a child in this UI. So I want to be able to reach into this, find the head, toss a hat onto it. And that's going to be interesting. I like the Blender controls better than the Godot ones. Are there preferences, project settings, input map? No, that's not for this. Mouse cursor. All right. We could add some tiny little piece on there. Something a little bit more substantial than that origin point. Let's see. We just need this to get animated, so why can't we animate that somehow? Seems like it should be possible. Object constraints. Normally you just reparent it with like that. Undo that. Okay. It's funny that you can have a brush and brush mask, etc. for one of these points, but you can't attach it to a bone. Attach empty to a bone. Dun dun dun. Just add a modifier to each object and use the same armature as object. Add the empties. Go to pose mode, select the relevant empty, and shift select bone. Control P. Okay, I did that. Let's try again. Your basketball reading order goes Bulls, wherever Jimmy Butler is, and Bucks. Oh my goodness. I worked for the company that came up with the 1st and 10 line, the overlay for television. And let's see, they also did the NASCAR thing, the baseball strike zone stuff. That was neat work. The business, I think, actually kind of sucks because you don't have a market. Right? You're trying to sell something to basically a league, like one client. So if they don't buy it, well, you die. That is not all written in Erlang. Actually, most of it is just C++ with assembly. I didn't work on that side of the shop, but had some really brilliant people working on that. One of the few places I've worked that had a chief scientist, which was really neat. I wonder where he is now. Alright, so we're going to try to parent this. So we select this, select the, oh, no, we need to be in pose mode. Pose mode, select, oh, why can't I choose my empty? That, choose that, Command P, bone, fine, make parent. And then if we choose this again, Should see. I mean, it kind of. That's the bone name for the hat. Object mode. Do you have to be in pose mode to see this? I mean, it's got this little dotted line there now, which is new. But look at this. We still don't have the animation here. But does it move? Pose mode. Oh, it does. Okay, but why? So if we select that in there, it's like it's selected in two places. I don't know if you can see that. If I select this, the other one turns orange as well. Okay, so if we have that, and it is somehow associated with this bone, somehow. So Paint and Rules, it was one of the few places I was able to get Erlang into production though. All right, so that seems like it works, but let's add another thing. Let's add a belt. We'll add another empty. Actually, I want to select this, and I want to set origin to this. Is it Shift S? Cursor to selected. There we go. Now let's go into object mode. Empty, plain axis. It's fine. Belt. Okay, so belt is there. Now let's move belt out just a wee bit. Or maybe I don't know about that. Okay. So then we go into pose mode. So we select the belt, select the bone, Command P, make parent connected. Set the active bone as a parent of selected. No. Should have no bone selected. Want the belt, and then oh, I'm in edit mode, not pose mode. Okay, so now I have the belt, the hat. The belt doesn't have an animation yet. Hopefully it moves with that. Let's see. It's got a launch for everything. Give it a play. Oh, it does move. Lovely. So we can just add these willy-nilly later. Okay, that's nice. And if we take that, save it, file, export. Okay, this is, we're into character. Let's go back into Godot. Oh, interesting, bone attachment. That is gross. That is awful. Are they listed in here? Constraint, bone. see it. All right. I could probably scan this, just get all the descendants looking for certain names. What if there's a better way to name those? I don't know if there is, though. I wonder what this bone attachment is. Like, can I view that? Focus selection. Yeah, yes, that's where that is. Okay, so it shows the bones there. And that's just where it is. Okay, that's fine. Oh. Hmm. Alright, we're gonna give a museum raid today. So I gotta get going. Alright, y'all. What did that? Did that work? There we go. So, until next time. Bye-bye.